Jellyfish, it's Tracy. How ridiculous do we look in this? I just recently like discovered putting my hair up like this and it really helps it dry. And I was originally gonna film like this, but I was like, I don't know if people like actually won't watch this video if my hair is up like this. No one probably cares, but my hair just, anyways. Okay, so I want to do this real talk for you guys because I have some pretty exciting news, I would say, in terms of like EDH and like modern updates. And I feel like I haven't done an update video in a little while, and if you're new to my channel, I like to do these every once in a while just to like talk about like where I'm at like mentally and like what's my mindset behind it, like what deck I'm playing, am I thinking of changing something up and whatever. And EDH has been pretty consistent, I have to say. I've been at a really good spot with that. Like I haven't really, I mean like I have like tweaked decks and stuff, but like I haven't built a new deck in a really long time, which what I think is going to be really cool is when I finally like tweak my EDH decks up to the point where I'm really happy with them, because I have, let's see if I can like do the roll call. I have 5 color ladies, which I love. It's like my love right now. I love it. I have Omnath, green red, stompy, make a lot of elemental tokens and like hit people for a lot of damage, and just crazy mana ramp. I have Tassiger, which it's multicolored and it's like really sweet. It has like a bunch of tutors in it, and it just wants to kill people with like Cascade Cage Breakers. I have okay, this is where it kind of gets a little tricky. I have a monocolor, well I have Avacyn, Mono White Angels, which I'm in love with and I will never take that deck apart. It's just my baby. God, I love that deck. Then I have like monocolored green Yisan. Yisan's really sweet, but I feel like I don't play it a lot, so I'm potentially thinking of disabandoning that deck. I haven't decided yet. And then I have Super Friends, and so I have like 6, and I've been at really weird places with my Super Friends deck. I can't decide what's going on with that. I don't know if I want to like, I really like it, and originally it was 5 color, but then I wanted to build 5 color ladies, and so I was like, I don't want to have 2 5 color decks, even though they're like totally different. Also, I wanted to run Atraxa as my commander, so like I was like, I'll bump red out of it. I'm losing out like on a couple sweet red planeswalkers and like Conflux, but I was like, you know what? It's fine. I'm just gonna do this, right? So I built 4 color, and I didn't really have issues with it. It wasn't like the issue with the color change. I just felt like it's one of those decks that, you know, just because of like my situation and like the people who I play with, like I play with mainly Paul, my boyfriend, and like we, you know, it's kind of one of those decks where like he doesn't want to play against it all the time, which like I totally understand. So like maybe like in the future I'll have different people and it'll be like fine and I'll play it, because now that I'm like kind of talking about it, I'm kind of getting like re-excited about it, and I'm like, maybe I should like revisit Super Friends, but like I haven't like really tweaked any. I haven't bought magic cards in a while, and I haven't like tweaked any of my decks in a really long time. I definitely want to. Like there's cards that I definitely like, they're all totally sufficient and playable. Like it's not like, oh, like Super Friends I have to say is totally not playable right now. Like I have cards that I don't even know what they're supposed to be. Like that deck I haven't played in a while, and I don't know. I have cards that like I was supposed to buy this card and I don't even remember what it's supposed to be, and like, do I have it on here? No, I didn't, because I had a list of cards I needed for Super Friends and then I got rid of it. And this is like I write like lists, I'm a list person, and I wrote a list of like magic cards I need mainly for ladies, and 1 card for Omnath. And I feel like, oh yeah, I want like that land for Omnath, that green one, that flip land that just came out in whatever set just came out recently. Was that Ixalan? That sounds right. But yeah, so that's like the only card I want for Omnath right now, but I want a bunch of ladies, like a bunch of cool new ladies and stuff that have come out since then. And that's kind of that with EDH updates. The only other thing I'd really say is I have been thinking about potentially building a 2 color red, green, even though I feel like I make too many freaking green decks, which is why I'm thinking of disabandoning Yisan too, because I feel like I just don't play it, and I feel like I just don't enjoy it anymore. Like I think it did a lot of the same things. Like I felt like I was tutoring every time for the same cards, and I wasn't doing it on purpose. It was just kind of like those were the best cards I had. Like I didn't really make variety in it, and I'm just kind of like bored of it. And I was thinking about doing a Merfolk themed deck because I think that's really sweet. I think it would be a really sweet like tribal theme deck, and I mean I have I mean, Omnath, I guess you could say is like elemental tribal, but like it doesn't really run like other elementals except for like Avenger of Zendikar, like because duh. It runs like a couple of those, and like Fertilid, but not really. Oh, is it Fertilid? Is it, what is the elemental? I think it is, where it's like 3 mana and it's like Graft, and then you like remove a counter from it, and then you can like tutor for a land. Yeah, that card's really sweet. It's an awesome elemental. But yeah, so I don't run that many. And then I'm thinking about doing like Merfolk, but then at the same time I want to do something different. Like that's been my issue, is I want to make a different type of deck, but I don't know how to do it. I'm thinking about potentially like artifacts, like equipment. I don't really know though. So if you guys have any ideas for like different types of EDH decks, like I would be totally open to that, because I like hearing what people have to say about, you know, about that, because I just want to make it like something that I don't have. I explained like my decks before, so and I have like deck text up of like all of them if you're so inclined. So that's kind of it for EDH updates, but kind of the reason why I really wanted to get on here and what I really wanted to talk about is, so today's Sunday, yesterday, Saturday, Paul and I were doing kind of like a clean out of like Magic cards in his house, and you know, we're moving soon, if you did not know that, and you know, we're trying to minimize obviously the amount of things that we're moving. And so I said to Paul, like, you can bring these Magic cards, like, I don't care, but like, I want them to be used, basically, like, and I'm not saying you have to build the deck tomorrow, I'm just saying, like, you know, cards that are playable that you want to keep, but cards that like aren't playable, like, they should just be like gone now out there, you know? So what we did, and when we say we, I mean really me, because he was building a deck while I was, he's building a Pirates deck, which is super cool, he loves Pirates, so I was going through all of his Magic cards and I was organizing it based on categories, and so I was doing like tokens, because, you know, whatever, tokens we can just both get rid of, basic lands, because him and I are basically pretty much only going to be using like full art lands at this point, so like all those like lands, like we're going to keep some just in case like we ever do a draft in the future and like we want lands to keep around, which just makes sense. So, you know, we have that. And then what else was I gonna say that I did? Oh, I separated it into like the main 2 categories, or 3 I should say. One was like cards that I don't feel like he and I would use, so we can just get rid of them. And then commander cards that like we should use, you know, we could use, and then like modern cards. The modern pile was like pretty small, but you know, there were a couple of like lands in there. There were a couple of like remands, like bolts, and like those lands that just came out in Ixalan. I don't remember what people are calling those lands, but the ones where it's like it enters if you control 2 or fewer, or like whatever, if you have another island it comes in tap. I don't know, there's so many lands at this point I can't even keep up. So I was like, hey, like these are super sweet cards that just kind of like got lost in the shuffle. So my ideal situation and what I'd really like to do to get into modern, and basically how I am in modern, is I'm not at all like I am in EDH. In modern, I'm a total blue mage, I'm a total control player. In EDH, not so much. I mean, given in EDH, yes, I love removal, that's all I do, but like I love creatures, and I love swinging with my creatures, and I love, you know, like Omnath, like I just make all these tokens and I kill people, it's awesome. I'm just a totally different person when it comes to competitive Magic. I just prefer mid-range decks, I just really like casting blue cards. So my kind of mindset was, I was like, well, you know, I like changing decks up so much, but it's just financially like too much to just every other day to try and change up a deck. And I'm not saying every other day, like that's an exaggeration, but the point being, like, I want to change it up more often, and, you know, to have like a bunch of money, you know, just to kind of like pool into, you know, into like changing your deck up, it's just a lot. And another thing too that I've seen a lot of people do with this, because what they'll do is they'll build a deck and then get sick of it and then trade that deck in to buy another deck, but then like they'll go back to like cards that were used in that first deck, and it's just like a bunch of like swapping cards around. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to have my Magic collection in my decks and have a collection of cards that I can build for EDH decks and build for modern decks. And like all those other stuff, like, you know, you go to a pre-release, you open up, or like, I don't want it. I don't want that kind of stuff. Like, I want a very, you know, small like trade binder, because I'm just very interested in like getting cards for the collection, which is my decks, EDH cards that I want to use, and modern cards that I want to use. And that's kind of what I want to go into. So I was like, Paul was like, let's pull together our Magic collections. And, you know, like I said, mainly the bulk of my collection really is in my decks at this point, which is awesome, and I love that. But I do have, you know, I've got some fetch lands, I've got some shock lands, I've got some, you know, decently expensive cards that like I've used in the past in Modern and stuff like that. And so that's kind of a direction that I'm going in, and it was really exciting to do this. And I was actually looking through, because I was packing a bag up earlier before I filmed this, and I was looking at some of the cards and I was like, oh wow, like I didn't even realize I had these cards. Like I haven't looked at like my collection in a while of cards that I've held on to that I was like, maybe one day in Magic I'll like use this. So it'll be cool, because like then Paul and I haven't decided exactly the system. So if you're someone who does this where like you change your decks up, like let me know what you do, because I'm thinking like to get like a really big binder and then like get like, I don't want to put like 4 cards stuffed in each slot, preferably. Like they'd all be sleeved and they'd all be perfect fitted. So like, because Paul has like a ton of perfect fit guys. Like he bought like for $30, like I don't even know how many perfect fits, like 3,000 perfect fits or something crazy like that. So we have like a ton of perfect fits. We'll perfect fit everything, and then he has like hyper matte blacks, so like it's easy. We can just like, you know, bring those extra sleeves with us and whatnot, and then we can do that. And it'll be easy. We can like change sideboard up all the time. Like he's different from me. Like he's someone who can like kind of stick to a deck, but like who doesn't like variety? You know, like he doesn't mind. He has like, we have like technically 3 decks, I would say, like put together at this point. I'll just say like 3.5. He has Elves, which used to be my elf deck. He like bought that off me like a while back. This was like a while ago when I played that deck. And then he has Storm and Death's Shadow. Before Death's Shadow was cool, he was playing it before people thought it was a great card. So we have those, and then for me, I have kind of like bits and pieces of some sort of like blue-white control or like something like that kind of deck. So I have some cards for that. So yeah, that's kind of like my mindset. But yeah, let me know what you guys do for storage, like if I'm thinking of that, because like it's gonna be a lot of cards, because I mean, I don't know, because we have those decks kind of like already put together. Like Elves I don't really need to like borrow cards from, because like that kind of has its own separate, like Cavern of Souls, maybe like I need to take out like Cavern of Souls in that deck kind of thing. But that's kind of it for like the mana base. Like, you know, Reclamation Sage I guess is, or like cards like that I'll have like in and out of the sideboard, that kind of thing. Because I would probably go back to playing that deck. I mean, or like Coco's, Court of Callings, like those things can kind of be like interchanged, but that's kind of like the direction that I want to go in. And we're not too sure about storage. We have a ton of fat pack boxes, so we're thinking of like maybe doing like blue cards in like one fat pack box, but then like that's a lot to like bring to stuff and like have to lug those back boxes around. So I'm not too sure. Maybe we'll do like a couple binders, because I think that would be like a little bit easier. Maybe do like, I don't know if a binder for each color is too much, but like try to do like, you know, all that stuff kind of like in one, so that way I can go somewhere and like build a deck, like, you know, it's all like right there. So I'm not too sure about the storage yet. We'll figure that out when we get there, but I'm really excited. I'm gonna, I think, like re-look through my cards and stuff and you know, do that whole thing and look through and see like what I have. Cards I'm you know, holding on to for EDH that like we can keep on to, like basic cards like Soul Ring, Temple of the False God, like cards that are just really basic that like, you know, we'll use in the majority of EDH decks. I always like to have those kind of cards on hand. And, you know, he and I were so like, you know, it's not like, oh, you know, you took a 50-cent card from me, like you owe me 50 cents. Like, it's not like that, which is great. So it's definitely really nice that we can kind of like pull our collections together and kind of, you know, do that, which is going to be so nice. So that is basically it for the updates. I'm so excited about this, because I talked about getting back into Modern, like, I don't even know how long ago at this point, and it's been too much right now. Like, it's too much to go back into competitive Magic where I don't have the resources, I don't have a deck, and I mean, I guess I have Elves at this point, which I don't even know what the state of it is. That I don't even know if that deck still is Cavern of Souls, honestly. I don't know. I may have traded some of those away, but I don't think so. I think the deck is like pretty intact. I think the only thing is like I don't have a sideboard, but that deck is like really sweet, and I miss that. Now that I'm like talking about it, I'm like, ugh, I wouldn't play that all the time, but like just like temporarily, like when I don't have a deck, like yes. But I'm excited to definitely get back into that, but I will say it's going to be totally after the move and even months after that, because like we have to get settled, and like Magic is not at the top of my priority list right now, just with all of what's going on, and it's just gonna excuse me, it's just gonna like be a lot to, you know, jump back into that, especially that competitive scene. You know, we'll probably practice a lot against each other before we kind of get anywhere, because he and I could just totally get better playing competitively. Like we've been playing EDH for such a long time at this point that it's like, it's a totally different mindset, and I want to get us back into that and, you know, get way better at that, because both of us can definitely brush up on our skills. So yeah, that is it, guys. That is it for this EDH Modern updates. I feel like I did this a couple months ago where I was like, I'm getting back into Modern, but it's like, nah, not really. Now I have more of like a set date, but like, it's still, who knows when that's actually like gonna happen, because we have so many moving expenses. I'm a list person, so I've been making a list of all the things we need. It's a lot, so yeah, it's gonna be expensive, but that's why Magic is not at the top of the party list right now, so it's not on the stack. So. Oh, that's funny. Alright, I will see you guys in my next video on Thursday.